So they took maybe 20 bucks and an old watch? Mr. Manson, did you even take a swing?
No.
Could have taken her, Dad.
Nobody 2 is officially on its way, and while the first Nobody movie was already compared to John Wick, the sequel is making those comparisons even harder to avoid. The 2021 film was quickly linked to John Wick, largely because it was created by Derek Kolstad, the same writer behind John Wick. Even though the two movies don't share a universe, Nobody 2 is blurring the lines, making it harder to separate the two. At CinemaCon 2025, where a bunch of exciting films have been previewed, Nobody 2 is one of the standout highlights. The first trailer for the sequel was shown there, and while it hasn't been made available to the public yet, descriptions of the footage are already circulating. From what we know so far, the sequel is shaping up to be a solid follow-up to the original, even though there's one moment that feels almost like a direct echo of John Wick. In the trailer for Nobody 2, Hutch Mansell, played by Bob Odenkirk, is on vacation with his family. They visit an amusement park, where things quickly spiral out of control after Hutch's daughter gets bullied and he steps in. The action ramps up when Hutch is attacked by a group of thugs, and the film teases a chaotic action scene set in a hall of mirrors. According to the footage description, Hutch gets into a fight with a bunch of people in an elevator and later exclaims, "I'm on fucking vacation," while he fights his attackers. This mirror hall sequence immediately draws comparisons to a famous action scene from John Wick Chapter 2, where a similar fight takes place in a hall of mirrors. Although the scene looks cool, it's hard to ignore how closely it mirrors John Wick, which could make it difficult for the movie to escape those comparisons. The fight in John Wick 2's Hall of Mirrors was already an iconic moment, and fans may recognize it as a tribute to the martial arts classic Enter the Dragon. John Wick Chapter 2 used its mirror scene to pay homage to that film, and it did so in a way that was both stylish and thrilling. So now, with Nobody 2 attempting something similar, it raises the stakes. If the sequel can pull it off and deliver an even more impressive version, it will certainly stand out. But if it falls short, some fans might question why the movie didn't try something more original instead. The first Nobody movie had a simple yet effective formula: non-stop action with an explosive climax, setting up a clear path for a sequel. In it, Hutch Mansell, a retired assassin turned family man, struggles when his home is broken into, and he fails to defend his family. This event reignites the violence within him, setting off a chain of events that leads him to clash with a dangerous Russian mobster named Ilya Kuznetsov. Hutch ends up returning to his old ways, putting himself and his family in the crosshairs of dangerous criminals. The film concludes with Hutch's family standing by him and the mobsters being taken down, but it also leaves a mysterious phone call hinting that Hutch might not be done with his old life after all. That phone call at the end of the first movie is the perfect setup for Nobody 2. It's unclear who called Hutch, but the phone call clearly suggests that Hutch's return to the world of violence isn't over. It leaves a bunch of open questions about what's coming next. By the time Nobody 2 arrives in 2025, Hutch will likely find himself torn between his family and his desire for the action-filled life he once led. The mid-credits scene in Nobody also gave a hint at future developments, showing Hutch's brother, Harry, and his father, David, played by Christopher Lloyd, embarking on a new mission. Harry, who was previously thought to be dead, and David, who seemed like he was retired for good, are now back in action. They're headed to a specific destination, and their RV is loaded with weapons, suggesting that they will be helping Hutch with whatever mission is on the horizon in Nobody 2. This family dynamic is what sets Nobody apart from many other action films. While many films in the genre focus on lone, troubled heroes, Nobody leans into Hutch's relationship with his family. Unlike John Wick, who has little to lose and relies on his solitary skills, Hutch still has a family that he's trying to protect, which brings a whole different set of emotional stakes. Hutch's story isn't just about revenge, it's about balancing his dark past with his present as a family man.
Everybody get to the basement.
What?
Right now. Let's go. Move.
What is
Move.
Dad, what
Right
what's
now.
happening? Hutch, you're
Move.
scaring me.
Go.
What is going on?
Get the door, son.
Is this a game? Yes, is this a game, Hutch?
The ending of Nobody doesn't just wrap up Hutch's journey, it really underscores the theme of reclaiming one's identity. Hutch isn't just a guy with a violent past. By the end, he's accepted both sides of himself. The final scene, where he decides to spare Yulian's life only to turn the tables in an explosive, booby-trap finale, is less about seeking revenge and more about asserting who he is. Hutch's journey is one of revelation, not transformation. He's always been a killer, but he's been hiding it under the surface. The film's closing moments, with that mysterious phone call about the basement, reinforce the idea that Hutch is still in the game, even if he's pretending to be a suburban dad now. In terms of how Nobody 2 might play out, we know that Hutch is likely going to face some tough choices. On the one hand, he's got his family to think about. On the other, his violent instincts are hard to suppress. The first movie set up a lot of internal conflict for Hutch, and it's safe to assume that the sequel will explore whether he can really balance these two sides of himself. It seems like Hutch's character arc will continue to deal with this struggle between domestic life and the pull of his past. As for the external threats, the death of Kuznetsov means that Hutch now has a bunch of powerful enemies gunning for him. Since Kuznetsov had connections all over the criminal world, his death is sure to set off a ripple effect, with new villains and maybe even some old allies coming after Hutch. This opens the door for a bunch of new conflicts in Nobody 2, which will likely build on the first film's momentum and set the stage for even more action-packed sequels. And speaking of sequels, Universal has already greenlit Nobody 2, which is great news for fans of the first film. The original movie was a hit, earning $56 million from a modest $16 million budget, and the sequel has been in the works since the first film's success. Bob Odenkirk, RZA, and Christopher Lloyd are all returning for Nobody 2, and producer Dave Leitch has confirmed that the team is excited to dive into the sequel. They've already started working on the script and are aiming to make sure that the sequel lives up to the high expectations. With the release date set for 2025, fans don't have to wait too long to see Hutch's next adventure unfold. While there's still a lot of mystery surrounding the plot, the groundwork has already been laid for a sequel that promises to deliver more action, more family drama, and more of the explosive moments that made the first movie so enjoyable. In the end, Nobody is more than just an action film. It's a story about reclaiming your identity, about finding peace not through avoidance but by accepting who you are. Hutch's journey is about balance, and that's what makes the film resonate with audiences. Even though the film's ending doesn't promise a quiet life for Hutch, it suggests that he's found peace with himself, and in a genre filled with stoic anti-heroes, that emotional depth is what makes Nobody stand out. And that's that for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one.